do coke so I can work longer, so I can earn more, so I can do more coke.
Kane Lynch 2 Dog Days was developed by IO Interactive and published by Eidos Interactive. It was released in 2010 for the PC, Xbox 360, and the PlayStation 3. While the game isn't very original in many ways, Dog Days does something that other action shooter games hadn't tried before. It shows the story and action from the perspective of a handycam documentary like you would see on TV about two thugs and the horrible shit that they happen to get into for money.
Kane, welcome to Shanghai. Long fucking flight, huh? It's good to see you. Been a while. How you been? Well, here, let me get that.
I'm fine. It's okay.
And as original as this is, it's also one of the biggest failures of the game. The shaky camera causes most people sickness and is extremely disorienting. Within the first few minutes of playing, I was already shaking my head from the camera going mad while I attempted to run. And after a little while, I was able to ignore this a bit and keep pushing forward, but the seizure in camera wasn't the only thing that made this title really hard to finish. The first thing I noticed besides the camera was that I did not care for the characters at all. I get that it's supposed to be a camera crew following two guys into the seedy underbelly of crime and whatnot, but neither Kane nor Lynch really made me feel any empathy for them during the story. Kane was the more likable of the two, but not by too much. And even though they are bad guys, there's still a way that they could have been likable, because just look at certain films like Heat, Goodfellas, The Godfather, and Payback. You follow bad guys for the most part in those movies, and they tend to be likable characters, and you want to see how things turn out for them. This wasn't like that at all.
What the fuck, Lynch? I thought you said this was gonna be a breeze. Come on.
So when bad things happen to these guys throughout the story, it really didn't make any kind of impact on me. The graphics weren't too bad besides the camera, which will even make the effect of distortion like you're watching a video online that was either streaming or had artifacting from a low bitrate. Also, when the character is close to death, the screen gets super blurry to the point where almost nothing can be seen. Some of the effects with lighting look pretty nice in terms of making it feel a little bit more realistic, but at the same time I would have rather the game be less distracting so the gameplay was much smoother. The frame rate was really smooth though, and I didn't have any complaints from the game not firing up perfectly on the first try. The sounds are decent and they get the job done, but the voice work feels very uninspired with a good deal of the characters.
Screw this! There's nothing!
They just seem really bored and not interested in the story at all. But I can't really say that I blame them because I wasn't very interested either. The music was good and wasn't distracting or anything, very ambient actually, which worked really well for this type of title. Another issue I had were the weapons as well as the bullets. For the first half of Dog Days, you are seemingly punished for playing by having submachine guns as a majority of the weapons available, and they have horrible accuracy. This wouldn't be such a big deal if it wasn't for the fact that enemies are usually at a good distance from you, and you'll waste a lot of ammunition trying to put them down. On top of that, when you do hit them, they just seem to absorb your bullets and keep going like they were Terminators. I witnessed a cop getting shot in the head at least 3 or 4 times, and he just got up and continued attacking. Even worse is to add more realism to the game, IO seemed to make it to where your bullets are moving in slow motion after you fire them from your gun. And I don't mean in bullet time or anything like that, I just mean that they take way too long to reach the enemy, and therefore I had a difficult time in combat for so many different reasons. And in the last half of the game, the weapons seemed much better, but they still weren't perfect, and it felt like I was handicapped in the gunfights when things should have been a lot smoother. You also can't fight enemies up close most of the time because they can kill you in a short burst of fire from their weapon at close proximity. So I spent a lot of time frustrated due to wasting a lot of bullets and killing nothing. The cover system works from time to time, but more often than not it seems to lead to getting shot anyway, because bullets seem to tag my head often even when I was in cover to take a breather from the bad guys and their supreme accuracy with the same guns that I couldn't hit shit with. After playing something like Max Payne 3 where the gunfights are intense and each encounter feels different and fun, this just left me very disappointed and confused at why the decisions to make Dog Days this way were made. The co-op option is functional, and you and a friend might get some laughs out of how bizarre the game is.
Motherfucker. Oh god.
But other than that, there are much better games you and your partner could be spending time on. I played with 2 different friends, and one of them wasn't very happy that I tricked him into playing such a shitty game, as he said. Dog Days is also fairly short. The good news is I didn't have to pay much for it each time that I bought it, and the price of $10 on Steam definitely reflected its length. I finished it in less than 5 hours, which is pretty damn short. I beat the game on PlayStation 3 first, and then I played the PC version. While using the keyboard and mouse made the game feel somewhat more playable and was better overall, the PlayStation 3 version was still very playable for what it was. The frame rate was smooth from what I remember, and I didn't run into any glitches, which is good. Overall, Kane Lynch 2 Dog Days just feels like a wasted opportunity to have made an excellent co-op shooter with a great story, awesome characters that are against the grain, and really badass gunplay. What we ended up with was kind of a jumbled mess that will leave you feeling empty and sad. It's not horrible, but it's painfully average, and I wouldn't recommend playing it unless you just have nothing else better to do.
Ah, this is fucking stupid!
Holy shit!